Conquerors Coding has changed almost everything in my perspective when it comes to combat and power levels. Now, I know most of the time I talk more about speculative things and a lot of theories, and I also know that y'all don't necessarily like my power scaling all the time, especially when it comes to like tier lists, man. Y'all was upset with me on that last tier list, I'm gonna be honest, but that's neither near or there. The fact still remains that Conquerors Coding is something super prevalent in One Piece, and with, you know, some statements that Kaido has made about Conquerors Coding, everything about it screams top tier, and that's what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the future of Conquerors Coding and who exactly we may see that's a top tier who also has Conquerors Coding. But before we get into the video, if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Doesn't matter when you do it, just hit it at some point if you like the video. And if you want One Piece content like this in the future, make sure that you subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Also, my pinned comment will be my Twitter and Discord. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and you join the Discord. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So first and foremost, let me explain Conquerors Coding and what it is for those of you who may be confused, because it's not exactly a manga term. It's more of a fan term that I've seen across like Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, things like that. But Conquerors Coding, when I use this term in this video, I will be referring to when you infuse Conquerors Haki into your attacks. This is what Luffy said to Kaido in chapter 1010, in which Kaido responds, yes, the few strong can do this, but not a dead man walking. So he was basically telling Luffy, like, look, man, the strong can do this Conquerors Coding thing, but you can't. So when I talk about Conquerors Coding or advanced Conquerors Haki, whatever you want to call it, it is simply infusing armament Haki into your attacks. What we've seen Kaido do with Thunder Bagua, which Luffy ends up learning, and what we've seen recently Zoro trying to do by flowing his Haki into all three of his swords against King. But the specific statement that Kaido made about only the strong can use this technique makes me think that the top tiers should have this ability, and that this is an ability that Oda is trying to use to differentiate the strong from the kind of strong and then the weak. So first and foremost, do we think that King has Conquerors Haki? This is a good question, and until the recent chapter, I probably would have said no. But taking into consideration what Kaido said about Conquerors Haki and infusing it, and what King said to Zoro in chapter 1033, I think he might have it. I'm probably about 75% sure. So at some point in this fight, as you all remember, Zoro is infusing Conquerors Haki into his blades. And King says, it seems that you also have kingly ambitions. The way that King said it, though, makes it seem like he's alluding to the fact that he himself has kingly ambition. Now, he could have just been talking about the other top tiers that he already knows have Conquerors Coding, like Kaido, Big Mom, etc., or he could have been referring to himself. But the other thing that you have to take into consideration with this King and this Zoro fight is that if Zoro does have Conquerors Coding, and we know that this is a top tier ability that only top tiers have, King should probably have the same ability to be able to keep up. The only way in my mind that King does not have Conquerors Coding and that he doesn't make this fight a high to extreme diff with Zoro is if Zoro's fight goes how most of his other fights in the story have went. Because for the longest time, either Zoro has completely outmatched his opponents, like almost all of his post-time skip fights, or in some of his pre-time skip fights like Daz Bones or Kaku, he loses for a bit, figure out how to defeat his opponent, and then he overwhelms them. In my mind, that could be what happens. He could have seen and figured out, you know, this whole Conquerors Coding thing, and that might be what he needs to overwhelm King. But the reason why I'm also kind of disagreeing with that is because he made a statement about how he needed to find out about, you know, King's race in order for him to find the way to defeat him, which makes me think that this fight is going to go even longer and that it's going to end up being like a high to extreme diff fight because Zoro hasn't figured out anything about his race yet, which means the Conquerors Coding most likely is not going to just defeat King. Because why would Oda have Zoro bring up his race if he was just going to outright defeat him with coding without figuring out his race? That would have just been a waste of space and, you know, writing. That makes me think that there's going to be a longer fight. And in order for it to be a longer fight, I believe that would mean King would need Conquerors Coding. Now, I know you're wondering, Sin, why do you think he needs Conquerors Coding? Because he was able to hurt Zoro when Zoro didn't have it. So what does that mean? Well, I'll explain. I am under the assumption that since they use the word infuse when talking about Conquerors Haki, that you can infuse it like armament Haki, that it's just a better version of armament Haki or another layer. And if that is the case, I'm also under the assumption that you can use King's Haki and infuse it in a defensive way. I believe that this, in my opinion, is the reason why these top tiers are so durable. People like Kaido, Big Mom, Shanks, Whitebeard, a lot of these people have lived as long as they have and have been able to fight for long periods of time against these other top tiers because they have this coding ability and they're using it both offensively and defensively, which is why I believe that King needs this ability to be able to defend against Zoro's coding. It would be the same as if there was a Haki clash. You go to attack someone with armament Haki and they use their armament Haki to defend. It's the same. You infuse your attacks with Conquerors and you go to attack someone and they use their Conquerors and infuse it on their body to defend, which is why I believe that it's possible that at some point the next thing we see with coding is it being used in a defensive capability and confirmed to be used that way. And also we might be able to see at some point a full body Conquerors coding. We've seen full body armament Haki, so why not a full body Conquerors coding? Maybe that is what is next for Luffy. Speaking of Luffy, let's talk about Luffy and Kaido. I think that for the future, we could possibly see Conquerors coding being used with Luffy's gear, which goes into the like full body Conquerors idea that I had. We've seen him use his armament Haki and infuse it with his body for his gear 4th attacks and gear 3rd attacks. So why can't he do it while infusing Conquerors? Why couldn't he just flow his Haki and use Conquerors coding instead of armament? If you can infuse it like armament Haki, I don't see why you can't do everything else that you could do with armament. We've seen armament used in so many different ways, and I really do believe that it's possible to infuse your Conquerors just in the same way. Besides the fights that we've already seen though, what about people that may have Conquerors coding that we don't know or isn't confirmed yet? Well, I think Zoro becoming as strong as he has and using coding, we can probably use that and imply that Mihawk has coding too. Mihawk being able to be the world's strongest swordsman without coding would be insane, but I don't think that it would make much sense to me. Kaido's comments about it being a top tier thing and Mihawk being a top tier, being the world's strongest swordsman without having this ability would kind of make me question how he's able to be that powerful. Because how are you at this tier and being able to fight against people that have coding when you don't have it yourself? Again, the same kind of argument that you can make with King. Due to this, I think Mihawk definitely has it, especially if he's going to be Zoro's final fight. Now, it doesn't have to be Zoro's final fight. He could fight Mihawk before the Blackbeard fight or after it. It doesn't really matter, but you get the drift. It's going to be Zoro's probably one of his biggest fights, if not his biggest. Now, what about the OG Admirals? Well, in order to have Conquerors coding, you have to have Conquerors. And I guess the question that people have is, are all the Admirals top tier enough to have Conquerors? I would say no. But I do think that Akainu being a conqueror makes a ton of sense. He has a complete sense of justice. He has a lot of kingly ambitions just due to how he carries out his will of justice. Everything that he does is like a conqueror's move. He is a conqueror in a way. So him having conquerors makes total sense. And if he has conquerors, he's got to have coding. I just can't see someone being a top tier like Akainu and possessing Conquerors Haki and not being able to infuse it with their attacks. Of course he would be able to if he had Conquerors. So I guess for Akainu it boils down to, does he have Conquerors in the first place? And for me, I think he definitely does. It makes a ton of sense for him, the Fleet Admiral, to have Conquerors Haki. What about Boa? Now Boa is a tricky one. So Boa, if she has coding, Kobe might be in trouble. Unless Kobe also has coding. Will we see a coding battle between Boa and Kobe? I think that would make that fight amazing. But I guess it really just depends on if Oda's going to off-screen it or not. Because we know Kobe's on the way to Boa, but are we going to be able to see the Boa versus Kobe fight? That's an entirely different question that we just don't have the answer to. However, we know that Boa is at minimum a conqueror. So if she's a conqueror and she's stated to be this all-powerful person, she was a warlord, I would love her to be able to infuse her Conquerors Haki into her attacks. I think that would make her a very strong adversary for Kobe and also give us an opportunity to see what Kobe's truly made of. Kobe having conquerors is something that I just truly believe in, just due to the fact of his ambition, him wanting to be a fleet admiral, him being a rival to Luffy in that sense, just being on the polar opposites, him being someone that trained under Garp and had that experience and had that opportunity to grow. I think that him having conquerors makes sense. And if Kobe has conquerors, the person under Garp, you best believe that he's going to end up having conquerors coding. So Kobe's the next person I think will have it. What about Garp? I think it's safe to say Garp and Dragon probably have it. Like, like, I feel like we know that Dragon's a conqueror just due to what was said at Marineford. Like, oh, he's a son of Dragon, so him being a conqueror makes sense, which implies that Dragon has conquerors. And if Dragon has conquerors, Garp probably has it. So, I mean, them having coding, again, I think it's going to be a situation where the top tiers have coding. Not all of them, but some of them. I really just think that makes sense, that if Dragon and Garp have conquerors, they would have coding. Like, why would they not have coding and then Luffy has it? Like, I just can't see that, happening. Now, we already know about Big Mom and Kaido having coding. What about Cat, though? Cat has conquerors, but will Oda retcon it and give him coding? I want to say I think he probably will, but I do be hating on Cat. I'm not gonna lie. I was about to hate on Cat just to make y'all mad, because I know y'all hate when I hate on Cat. Y'all love Katakuri so much, bro. It is crazy how much Katakuri love there is. I love Cat too, bro. I just be really doing it to make y'all mad, bro, just on some fun shit. But I can see Oda going back, or maybe even after his Haki blooming in that fight with Luffy, being able to tap into coding, because I don't think he could have been hitting Luffy that many times, and being able to like not put him down if he was using coding with all them punches. He hit Luffy a lot of times. Luffy didn't hit him that many times. The fact that his durability is down a little bit compared to Luffy's AP, and the fact that he hit Luffy a billion times and couldn't put him down, it just makes me think he wasn't using coding, but it's definitely a possibility in the future. I just don't think for now I'm willing to say yes. So I'd say no for now, but definitely a possibility for sure, especially if like King and Beckman get it. Like, if they get it, I could see Cat getting it. Like, I'm just not sure. But then again, Marco doesn't have it, I don't think. So it's like, man, Marco needs it though. That bro is missing some attack power, bro. Like, let's be honest. But I really think that's the future, like, users of advanced conquerors, and also how we would see it in the future. In a defensive way, maybe full body, that would be crazy. But of course, these are just my thoughts on Conquerors Coding, but I want to know all of yours. So make sure you comment down below and let me know. And as always, I hope you all are staying safe and healthy during these trying times. This has been Synsei Inc., and I will see you all in the next video.